This conference will now be recorded.
Melissa, would you be able to send Mark a meeting link? He's just having trouble signing on.
Sure.
Thank you. Sorry for the delay. We're just trying to get a link to Councillor McIver. Okay, so he'll be joining in just a moment, but it is 7 p.m., so we're going to call this meeting to order. And I do have two additions that we'll need to make to the agenda this evening. One will be amendments to the planning strategy and land use bylaw from our public hearing that we held at 6 p.m. this evening. And the second item is we have some interest to add a community member to our Port Hawkesbury Accessibility Advisory Committee. And I wanted to add those two items. Are there any other items the council wishes to add this evening? Councillor McDougall?
Oh, fine, thanks.
Okay. I would ask for a motion to approve the agenda with those two amendments or those two additions, please.
I move to approve as amended.
Thank you, Councillor McDougall. Do we have a seconder?
Seconded.
Okay, seconded by Deputy Mayor McCrory. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Contrary minded? Okay. The agenda is approved with the two additions. So our next item up on our agenda this evening is appointment of Deputy Mayor. And just to give a little bit of context, we have a 4-year term, as many of you are aware, with regard to most municipalities. I believe, and Huey, you are kind of our historian here on council, but do you recall the year we had a motion to circulate the position of Deputy Mayor? Do you recall the year we decided upon that?
I will say, Your Worship, it was in the late 1990s, and the late Councillor Anderson, it was his idea and he made the motion.
Thank you for that. Did you want to give a little bit of context on the process, Councillor McDougall?
Yeah, I can. I guess what we do is historically, since the last 25 years or more, since we went from a 3-year term to a 4-year term, and from 6 councillors when we had the ward system to 4 councillors at large, we rotated the deputy mayor, where each councillor had an opportunity to be deputy mayor, and we rotated it by the number of votes. The top number of votes got the first year, the second year, and so on. And this year it's Councillor O'Coin's turn, and I would be honored to make the motion to make Councillor O'Coin our upcoming deputy mayor for the next year.
Thank you, Councillor McDougall, for the context and also for your motion. Do we have a seconder for that motion?
Seconded.
Okay, it's been seconded. Do you accept the role of Deputy Mayor, Councillor O'Coin?
I do.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Contrary minded? Okay, the motion is approved, and you are our new deputy mayor for the remaining 12 months, and I'd like to
Congratulations, Deputy Mayor Cohen.
and of course, I'd like to extend thanks to our outgoing Deputy Mayor Blaine McCrory, and I appreciate the year you served as Deputy Mayor. Thank you. Okay, did you want to, I guess, is there any other comments, or did you want to say anything, Deputy Mayor O'Coin?
No, I think I'm good, other than to echo your comments for Councillor McCrory.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we're going to move on to gallery presentations. And I do understand that our Port Hawkesbury Volunteer Fire Department Fire Chief Donald McDonald can't be here this evening, but Terry does have some information that he can present to council with a staff recommendation for a motion, but I'll hand things over to you, Terry, for this portion.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So our fire chief had another commitment this evening that he just that it came up this weekend, actually. So he asked that I give a brief summary of what the intent of the presentation was this morning, or this evening. So the Hawkesbury Volunteer Fire Department has undergone a thorough review of the Constitution and bylaw. It included working with the membership, working with myself and our attorney, Patrick Lamy, going through clause by clause, ensuring that all of the clauses were in compliance with federal and provincial legislation, including privacy laws, freedom of information, employment law, and various other items. There was changes in the duties of officers and the as well as a thorough change in the financial review committee. Their commitments and the way they're structured with now an external review included in those audits. So the council has been sent a copy of the Constitution and bylaws amended effective October 13th, approved by the Port Hawkesbury Volunteer Fire Department. And I'd ask staff recommend that a motion to accept the revised Constitution and bylaws as received.
Hey, just out of curiosity, Terry, so Donald will be joining us for our next public meeting in December. Is that correct?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. That's the intention. Is Donald is due to present to us on an update of the fire hall, and will include any. He'll speak to the bylaw and constitutions as well as other updates as well. And
okay.
We hope to have him here in at the December public meeting.
Okay, so I guess the intention of the changes are to be adopted by council at a future date?
No, so
just for information.
What we had on the advice of our attorney and discussions with the chief is that we would accept the bylaws as received.
Perfect. Thank you for the clarification. So what is the wishes of council with regard to the staff recommendation?
Your Worship, go ahead, Councillor McDougall.
Your Worship, I would move that we accept the bylaws as presented.
Thank you, Councillor McDougall. Do we have a seconder?
Seconded.
Okay, seconded by Councillor McCrory.
Your Worship, just to clarify, so it's acceptance of the Constitution and bylaws as presented.
Corrected. Okay, any discussion for the motion that's on the floor?
Question.
Okay, the question has been called. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Contrary minded? Okay, the motion is approved. Is there any other information pieces for this item, Terry?
No, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you. We look forward to seeing our fire chief at a future meeting. Thank you for providing that information for council. Our next item is acknowledgements, and I did want to make a few acknowledgements. Of course, I'll start by thanking our Legion for presenting the first poppy last week to myself here at the town office, and also to acknowledge Remembrance Day that is coming up this month. I'd also like to acknowledge the 25th anniversary of NSCC and also extend an invitation to council that this upcoming Thursday at 3 p.m. there will be a flag raising. So if you can make it here on Thursday at 3 p.m., you're more than welcome to join for that event. And loss is always extremely difficult for a small community like the town of Port Hawkesbury. We have had two particularly significant losses as of late, one being Al McDonald and the other being the wife of a long-serving and prominent former councillor of the town, Helen King. So on behalf of council, I would like to observe a moment of silence. Thank you for that. And we certainly extend our condolences to the McDonald family as well as to Jimmy King and his family. And at this time, does council want to share any information or messages with regard to either Al or Helen? Councillor McDougall?
Yes, Your Worship. I was going to make an acknowledgement, but I will say that being on council for a long time with Councillor King, and I knew how close Jim and his wife and family were. It was very sad for not only members of council but the whole community. And I know Jim was a hardworking and is a hardworking member of our community, and I'm glad that you brought that up tonight, and I thank you for that.
You're welcome, Councillor McDougall. Did anyone else want to share anything under acknowledgements this evening?
Yes, Your Worship. I have one acknowledgement. I'd like to acknowledge also the death of a long-time council member. Actually, the death of a long-time mayor of the municipality in the town of Mulgrave, Leonard McDonald, who was a good friend of Port Hawkesbury over the years. And I'd just like to make that acknowledgement, Your Worship.
I appreciate that, Councillor McDougall. Thank you for doing that. And we definitely extend our condolences to his family as well. Okay. So without any other acknowledgements, I'd like to move on to agenda item 7, which is approval of council minutes. At this time, I would ask if there are any errors or omissions for our public meeting of October 5th, 2021. Hearing none, I'll ask if there are any errors or omissions for a special public meeting of October 12th, 2021.
Yes, Your Worship.
Okay, Councillor go ahead, Councillor McIver.
On the motion moved by Deputy Mayor McQuarrie and seconded by Councillor Coyne that the town of Port Hawkesbury send a letter to the Minister Lower. It is 3 yeas and 1 nay. The math is working there. It should be 4 yeas or 2 nays.
Thank you. We can definitely correct that for the record.
All right, thank you.
Is there any other errors or omissions? Okay, thank you. So we will make that one correction. And at this time, is there any business arising from the minutes?
Yes, Your Worship, with respect to the October 5th public meeting, I'm just wondering if the check has been sent to the Port Hastings Historical Society for the $1,000.
Sure. So I guess we can defer that question to either Aaron or Terry with regard to that update.
I can speak to that, Your Worship, and yes, the check has been issued and was going to be picked up by the Port Hastings Historical Society.
Great, thank you, Aaron.
Welcome.
Okay, any follow-up questions, Councillor McQuarrie?
No, that's fine, thank you.
Okay, any other business arising from either sets of minutes?
Yes, Your Worship, through you to Terry, or maybe you can answer it. I'm just wondering on the question of the letter to the minister on Elm Court, was there any answer to his letter yet? I'm just wondering.
Sure, thank you, Councillor McDougall. Not to the best of my knowledge. Terry, have we received any correspondence pertaining to the letter that was sent on behalf of council?
Your Worship, actually, there was a letter from Municipal Affairs acknowledging receipt of the letter.
Okay, but not a response. Okay, so I guess to clarify your question, Councillor McDougall, they did confirm receipt of the letter, but I believe we're still awaiting a response. Terry?
Yes.
Correct. Any other follow-up
Okay.
questions?
No, that's fine. Thank you, Your Worship.
Perfect. Any other business arising? Okay, so we'll move on then to council committee reports, and I will hand things over to Terry for the report from the Committee of the Whole dated October 19th, 2021.
Thank you, Your Worship. There are a number of items coming from Committee of Whole at this public meeting. First is from Committee of Whole, the recommendation of the following motion that the town of Port Hawkesbury approve the purchase of a backhoe plow attachment for the Public Works Department as presented at the Committee of Whole.
Thank you, Terry. What is the wishes of council?
Your Worship, I'd like to make the motion to approve the purchase of the backhoe plow attachment.
Okay, so it's been moved by Councillor McQuarrie. Do we have a seconder?
Second.
Okay, seconded by Deputy Mayor Aucoin, correct? Okay, thank you. So if you're ready you can call the question unless there are.
Question.
Okay, question has been called. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Contrary minded? Okay, the motion is approved. Back over to you, Terry.
Thank you. The second motion, and there's a repeat of this in other business as well. But this is with respect to the winter control policy, which was presented at Committee of Whole. And the motion coming forward from, or the recommendation for the motion coming forward for Committee of Whole was that the town of Port Hawkesbury adopt the winter control policy with notice presented on October 19th Committee of Whole meeting.
Okay, thank you, Terry. What is the wishes of council?
I would move that, Your Worship, but I got a question.
Sure.
I'm just wondering, is number 13 is winter control policies on that? Is that where we're going to deal with that, or where are we at here in the agenda?
Sure. So we'll just get a seconder for the motion and then we'll have a discussion. So we have the motion has been moved by Councillor McDougall. Do we have a seconder?
Seconded,
Second.
Your Worship.
Okay, seconded by Councillor McQuarrie. So could you repeat your question, Councillor?
Well, I guess I'm just going by the agenda here, and it's A was the backhoe, B was virtual in-person meetings, and winter control policy was on number 13 on other
Oh,
business.
yes. Thank
I'm
you.
just wondering if
It's
we're
just slightly out of order is what you mean. Okay, got you.
Okay, no, a question?
Okay, the question has been called. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Contrary minded? Okay, the motion is approved. So we will strike that agenda item off under 13.2. Thank you for pointing that out. Okay, our next, back over to you, Terry.
Thank you again. For Committee of Whole, there was consensus to move the discussion with respect to virtual or in-person, or a combination of virtual and in-person meetings, both public meeting, Committee of Whole, and all advisory committees. The staff was asked to survey the surrounding municipalities, and this is what the table that was produced by Melissa is on your screen. So all of our neighbors within the Strait area are conducting their meetings in person, and there are 3 of those municipalities that are doing both a hybrid model of in-person and virtual, and that's Guysborough County, the municipality, the County of Antigonish, and the town of Mulgrave. So I bring that forward for discussion and consideration of a motion from council.
Okay, so I think we did have some discussion at Committee of the Whole with regard to virtual versus in-person meetings. And, you know, it's been an ongoing topic that we've kept on our radar. So I know that we did ask a little bit about, you know, what our neighbors may have been doing, but I think there was some consensus at Committee of the Whole that, you know, were we to go back to in-person, we should still include a virtual option, you know, in particular for any gallery attendance. So with that, I would ask, what is the wishes of council with regard to this item?
Your worship, I'd make the motion that town move forward with the hybrid in-person virtual meetings of council.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McQuarrie, do we have a seconder?
I would second that, your worship.
Thank you. Is there any discussion on the motion that's on the floor, or if you're prepared, you can call the question?
Yes,
Question.
your worship.
Oh, sorry.
I just want to clarify that with the hybrid, that's also for council members and the general public, not just the general public.
Thank you. Yeah, it would be for anyone who wished to participate.
Right. Question.
Okay, the question has been called. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Contrary minded? Okay, the motion is approved, and our next Committee of the Whole will be held in that hybrid format. Okay, back over to you, Terry.
Your worship, again from Committee of Whole, the town of for consideration, the town of Port Hawkesbury raised the Nova Scotia Community College flag at 3 p.m. on November 4th in celebration of NSCC's 25th anniversary.
Thank you, Terry. What is the wishes of council?
I would move the motion, your worship.
Okay. Thank you, Councillor McIver. Do we have a seconder?
Second.
Okay, seconded by Deputy Mayor Aucoin. Any discussion on the motion, or you can call the question?
Question.
The question has been called. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Contrary minded? Okay, the motion is approved. Okay, Terry, back over to you.
On the last recommended motion from Committee of Whole is that the town of Port Hawkesbury host a Biggest Loser Challenge to help promote the Body and Soul Fitness Center.
Okay, what is the wishes of council?
Move the motion.
Okay, so Deputy Mayor Aucoin has moved the motion. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second it, your worship.
Okay,
Get it on the
thank you.
table.
Thank you. Any discussion on the motion or any questions?
Yes, your worship, I have a question or a comment or a concern, however we,
Sure.
talking to Councillor Aucoin, the Deputy Mayor Aucoin at the time, and he brought this up, and it was a good idea, I thought at the time, and I thought it was it was geared to be a competition against the Hawk, I'm just wondering where that went, or if that's where we're still at, or what's the process going forward.
Sure. So Jason has graciously agreed to be the lead on this particular item. So I think there were a couple of options we could explore, including challenging a local business, and one of the ideas was to challenge the Hawk. Anyway, I guess I'll let Deputy Mayor O'Coin, I guess if you want to review some of the options that could be at our disposal.
Sure, thank you. So we did reach out to the Hawk, and at this time, they really don't have enough staff to engage in a fitness challenge, and the timing wasn't very good for the Hawk, from what I'm understanding. So we do have a few options. We could do this challenge amongst ourselves, which I think would be fun. We could also challenge the town staff if we can get 5 people willing. The mayor mentioned to me today that maybe we could also throw out a challenge to a neighboring municipality who have a gym in their municipality too. So those are some of the options, the 3 options I think that would work best. I am in contact with a person to design the challenge. We would like to go 8 to 10 weeks. Different challenges met at each week, and bring that back to council.
Yes, Your Worship. Thanks for that, Deputy Mayor. I think it's a good idea, and I support it, and we all supported it originally, but I think we should have some kind of process on what we're doing going forward. If we come back and said this municipality or this business or these individuals were going to do it, then that's fine. But just to leave it open to say, well, we might have this or we might have that. I'm just wondering if we can't get something more concrete to go by.
So through you, Your Worship, yes, Councillor McDougall, before a committee of whole, we will have something concrete and a start date and an end date.
I'm just wondering if we can, yeah, okay, that's great. I'm just wondering if we can.
So the suggestion I would have is that, this could be approved in the spirit of the acceptance of whatever option, I guess, council would like to participate in. So approving this can be, I guess, in advance of having those options presented. I guess supporting the idea. So once we do have the idea, so it could be, I guess, approved in concept, and then, certainly council will have the opportunity to decide whatever option that they'd like to participate in. Or we can defer.
Yeah, through you, Your Worship, to Deputy Mayor Coyne, I think it's a great idea, and I certainly have supported it, but actually looking forward to it. But I thought when it was presented at Committee of the Whole that there was already a commitment from the Hawk to participate in this, and that's how the recommendation went. The consensus of council was to have Councillor Coyne coordinate with Body and Soul and the Hawk. So the Hawk hadn't made a commitment, I gather, at that point. Is that right, Deputy Mayor Coyne?
With speaking with a couple of members from the Hawk, they were quite interested, and when they brought it to the staff, they just weren't able to get enough.
Do you have any follow-up questions, Councillor?
No follow-up, Your Worship. No, that's fine.
Any other Councillor McIver? Do you have any questions or comments?
Yes, Your Worship. I think it's a great idea, and I supported it last meeting. Maybe if the deputy mayor came back with the challenge, or we're challenging another municipality or business, and maybe the time frame. We don't want this to run into Christmas.
I hear you.
Turkey, I don't think, but
We don't want to disrupt our turkey dinners.
and I mean, maybe give a little time and get someone or a business or municipality interested and look at it for January or right after the holidays. This seems to be a big time to hit the gym.
Sure. So if it's the wishes of council to table this motion and revisit it, a conversation at committee of the whole, and then once council approves go forward, then we can certainly bring it to either December or January's meeting, if that is a satisfactory, I guess, direction.
I don't mind, Your Worship, if it gives the deputy mayor time to get things put together and bring it back.
I'm
Sure.
fine with that, Your Worship.
Sure, Deputy. So Deputy Mayor Coyne, is that okay?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay, and Councillor McQuarrie?
Yes, absolutely. Yep.
Okay, so we'll move on to the next item, Terry. Okay, so does that conclude our reports?
Yes, Your Worship, that concludes the report from Committee of Whole.
Sure, so we do have the committee minutes, the Committee of the Whole minutes of October 19th, 2021 that were circulated to council. At this time, I would call for any errors or omissions. And if there are none, motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Motion moved.
Okay, so Deputy Mayor Coyne, do we have a seconder?
Seconded.
Okay, seconded by Councillor McIver. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Okay, the meeting minutes are approved. Is there any business arising from our Committee of the Whole minutes?
Yes, Your Worship. Just in terms of report that you gave the Committee of the Whole on October 19th, you'd mentioned about contacting the Cape Breton Partnership to ask for assistance in developing a strategic plan for the airport. And I'm just wondering, where are things with that?
Sure. So Amanda Mumbercat, who's helping with co-chairing that at the airport committee, and myself did reach out and had a Zoom meeting with Carla Arsenault from the Cape Breton Partnership. So we're in the process of, I guess, identifying a date. So the information that we have, I guess some of the details will have to be worked out at a meeting prior. I guess, Aaron, I don't think we have a meeting date set yet for November or December for our airport committee.
No, we don't have a date set at this point in time, no.
Right, but so the intention would be to take some of the information that we were able to learn from Carla. So we do have some staff from the partnership who were able to assist with facilitating a strategic planning session. So the intent, I guess, roughly would be to look at having that session either in January or February. So some of the details that we do have to work out at the airport committee will be perhaps a couple of options for dates, and of course putting together a list of potential stakeholders that would be also interested in joining the airport committee, and potentially other councillors who may be interested in joining from most certainly from our three councils that are part of the governance structure, which would be Inverness, Richmond, and the town of Port Hawkesbury. So all those details are kind of still in limbo, but we hope to iron out some of those details at our next airport committee so that we can give a little bit more direction to the partnership with regard to go forward for the strategic session.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thanks.
You're welcome. Any other business arising? Councillor McDougall, you had your microphone on. Did you have anything?
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to move on to motions from in-camera session. We don't have any this evening because we didn't have an in-camera session. And under correspondence, we do have one letter that was circulated today, and it is was sent to us from Isabel Hudson. And anyway, Terry, do you have any?
I'm just going to leave the meeting.
No problem. So Deputy Mayor O'Coin has already declared conflict on anything related to taxi bylaws or topics. So he has left for this portion. Terry, do you have any staff recommendations with regard to this?
Your Worship, just a bit of background. We were contacted by both Harper's Taxi and Dave's Taxi, and this is a formal request from Dave's Taxi to consider increasing the in-town flat rate from $6.50 to $7 a trip, and that's based on the record high cost of gasoline and other costs increasing. The issue with this rate that is ingrained in bylaw, and to formally change that rate, it requires an amendment to the bylaw. The bylaw is quite out of date. Prepared, really, the last amendment to the bylaw was in 1991, and a number of things have changed. There are things in the bylaw that probably should be dealt with in policy, so that things like rates can be changed without an amendment to the policy in sort of a 2-month process. So it would be the recommendation for staff to bring back a new draft of policy prior to committee of whole for consideration of amendment to the taxi bylaw.
Okay, thank you, Terry. What's the wishes of council with regard to that staff recommendation?
Your Worship, through you to Terry, how long has the rate been set now at $6.50?
Yeah, through you, Your Worship, the rate that's recorded in bylaw is actually $5. And so I'm not certain, I can't see from talking to staff or looking through our formal records on the bylaw how the rate was increased, but it was 3 times through bylaw amendment until 1991, and then I don't see a record of it changing then. But it is something that's ingrained in bylaw, and to do it properly, the bylaw should be amended. But at the same time, that bylaw should really be modernized, and there's some really good examples of that with similar sized municipalities that council could look at.
Your Worship, again through you to Terry. So do we know we do not know how long the rate has been set at $6.50? Is that correct?
That's correct. Last notation in the policy manual is an informal note from 2014. So I can't say for certain that the rate was set at that time, but we don't have a record. We don't have formal record of it. We have done actually at the request of Councillor McIver, we have looked at rates in the surrounding municipalities, and surrounding municipalities are at the $7 range now.
Yeah. So, Your Worship, I definitely support the staff's recommendation, and I would be very supportive of an increase in the rate. I mean, the rate that seems like a rate that's been in place for a long time and doesn't respect current situation with in terms of cost, fuel cost, just as it's laid out in this letter. But I would look forward to a report from staff.
Okay, thank you, Councillor McCrory. Would you like to move that as a motion then?
I would, yes.
Okay, do we have a seconder?
Seconded.
Okay, thank you, Councillor McIver. Is there any other discussion on the motion that's on the floor? Or if you're prepared, you can call the question.
Question.
Okay, the question has been called. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Contrary minded? Okay, thank you, Terry. We look forward to seeing a new revision and more modernized taxi bylaw. Thank you. Okay, so our next agenda item is proclamations, resolutions. We do not have any to present to council this evening. Under other business, for information, we do have council expenses. So Terry, over to you for that.
Sending it out to Councillor O'Coin.
Apologies. Yes, we'll have to let him know that that portion is concluded. We'll just pause for a second.
I'm back. Thank you.
Oh,
Thank
thank
you,
you. Thank you. So we have no proclamations and resolutions, but we are now moving on to other business. So council expenses, Terry will now review those for information. Go ahead, Terry.
Yes, Your Worship. So we've revised the September 2021 expense report. There was an error indicated, and that was corrected. And we have prepared the October 2021 report. We've seen an increase in travel expenses as we start to see some in-person meetings and expenses come forward. So the total value was $1,377 for the month of October.
Okay, thank you, Terry.
Just to indicate that, of course, just a reminder that our expense reports are posted on the town website.
Thank you for that reminder, Terry. And back over to you for.
Sorry, Your Worship, through to Terry. What was the error that was corrected?
So in the September, the September 2021 spreadsheet, it had indicated 6 months of cell phone reimbursement instead of 5 months of cell phone reimbursement. So that was corrected.
Okay, thank you.
I believe it was 450 instead of our last version. It was 450. It was brought to our attention that that was incorrect, and that was changed to 375.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, back over to you for other business, item 2, Terry.
Your Worship, so this item is with respect to the COVID-19 vaccination policy, which was presented first to council in September, and then again at our October public meeting with notice given for adoption on this date. Just a very quick overview. Purpose of the policy is to set standards that employees, and this is specifically with respect to employees of the town of Hawkesbury, must meet in the workplace so that each employee can do their part to keep each other and the public safe. The process, town of Hawkesbury requires all employees to be fully vaccinated, let's have both injections at one of the recognized vaccines against COVID-19 by December 31st, 2021. So just because of the formalization of the policy, that date is it gives time for those who require to be able to get their vaccination. I will report, though, that we have done a formal review of vaccinations within our employees, and all employees, including casual employees, are fully vaccinated, and that's been recorded. Compliance. So there is an ability under exceptional circumstances to put an alternate testing, weekly testing, or when the town considers reasonable, to place an employee on unpaid leave of absence until the employee is in compliance. And after consideration of this policy, and I will just reiterate that this policy was drafted by HR, a lawyer with HR experience, and has been adopted by some other municipalities as well. Was prepared for them and adopted by them. So the motion coming forward is that the town of Port Hawkesbury adopt the COVID-19 vaccination policy with notice presented on October 5th, public meeting of council.
Okay, thank you, Terry. What is the wishes of council?
I'd move the motion, Your Worship.
I'll second it, Your Worship.
Thank you. Any discussion?
I have just one point of clarification, please, through Your Worship, to Terry on slide
Sure.
30. Where it says have both injections of one of the recognized vaccines, so they can have a mix. Is that correct? It doesn't have to be the same one.
That's correct.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Question?
The question has been called. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Contrary minded? Okay, the policy has been adopted. Thank you. There is also one other policy. I know we have already dealt with the winter control policy, so the only other one is the code of conduct policy. Over to you, Terry.
Your Worship, just a very quick overview. We've looked at this policy at some length. I will say, though, I was asked by council to inquire with municipal affairs with respect to the status of the framework that Department of Municipal Affairs have been working on. That framework is certainly not prepared as of yet. There are some drafts. There'll be a public consultation process and an adoption process for that. I will say, though, that this council has moved forward with policies of this nature in the past. As an example, our policy with respect to expenses, our policy with respect to hospitality, our policy with respect to public and joining our financial audit committee. So we've done this on a number of occasions while waiting. This is a policy, and it really takes 7 days notice, as council is well aware, to make a change if it's required from the framework. The policy has been reviewed by the staff at Municipal Affairs, and we've been advised that is very much in keeping with their understanding of which way the policy will be drafted. So just going through this, I won't repeat everything that we've talked about before, but we talk about in the policy the core values of integrity, honesty, objectivity, accountability, and leadership. The policy does reflect council's responsibilities, members' responsibility, good governance, government relationships, conflict of interest avoidance, reporting breaches, corrective action, compliance with the code, compliance with the process, investigation of alleged breaches, decisions, reporting to council, and penalties of the breach. Just a reminder that this is a self-governing code of conduct, that is administered by council. So on review, it's the recommendation that the town of Port Hawkesbury adopt the elected officials code of conduct with notice presented on October 12th special public meeting of council.
Okay, thank you, Terry. What's the wishes of council?
Your worship, so moved.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a seconder?
Second, your worship.
Okay, thank you. Is there any question or comments on the motions on the floor? And if not, you can call the question.
Question?
Okay, the question has been called. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Okay, contrary minded? Contrary minded? Okay, the motion is approved and the policy is adopted. Okay, thank you. Does that conclude other business, Terry?
Yes, your worship.
Okay, thank you. We do have two additions that we'll have to deal with this evening. The first is amendments to the planning strategy and land use bylaw based on the public hearing that was held at 6 p.m. this evening. And do you have a motion? So we do have a motion for consideration that the town of Port Hawkesbury amend both the municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw to allow close proximity advertising to drive-through establishments. What is the wishes of council with this item?
I would move that, your worship.
Okay, thank you, Councillor McDougall. Do we have a seconded by Deputy Mayor Coyne? Any questions or comments on the motion? Okay, the question has been called. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Contrary minded? Okay, the motion is approved. And the other item is a request that has come forward for Marilyn Talbot to join our Port Hawkesbury Accessibility Advisory Committee. So I would ask council to consider that addition. And if you'd be willing to make a motion with that regard, that would be great.
Your worship, I would move the appointment of Marilyn Talbot to the Accessibility Advisory Committee.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder?
Second.
Okay, seconded by Deputy Mayor Coyne. Okay, thank you. Any discussion, or if you're prepared, you can call the question.
Question?
Okay, the question has been called. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Contrary minded? Okay, thank you very much. I will touch base with Marilyn, and we're glad to have her as part of the committee. Agenda item 15, which is future meetings. We have a committee of the whole that will be occurring on the third Tuesday of this month, November 16th, and then followed by a public meeting on the first Tuesday of December 7th, 2021. Okay, at this time, we'll ask if there are any questions from the gallery at this time with regard to any of our agenda items. Okay, hearing none, I would ask for a motion of adjournment.
So moved.
Okay, thank you. Do we have a seconder?
Second.
All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Contrary minded? Okay, the meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much, everyone, for your time, and thank you to members of the gallery for joining us this evening. And I'll remain for any media questions.
Congratulations.